Do you feel stuck? Do you feel like you're trying your hardest to be successful and make progress, but it feels like it's going nowhere? Do you feel like you've been in a vicious cycle of procrastination and it's stopping you from reaching your dreams? Well, I know exactly how you feel. I've been there. My name is Nia Nix. I'm an artist and social worker, and I have some tips and advice for you. Number 1, I would encourage you to do some self-reflection. You should ask yourself, what is the reason you're struggling to make progress? Are you overwhelmed and stressed? Are you struggling with imposter syndrome? Is your perfectionism paralyzing you and sabotaging you? These are the kind of questions that you should ask yourself, because ultimately your emotions and mindsets are the things that are going to impact your progress and success. But don't just take my word for it. There are tons of professors, researchers, and self-help experts that say the same thing that I'm saying. There is a self-help expert and best-selling author, Mel Robbins, and she said that emotions impact your productivity. And there's an award-winning psychology professor, Dr. Timothy Pitchell, and he explained that procrastination is a very emotional process. He said that when people are procrastinating, they're really trying to avoid negative emotions such as stress and anxiety. So this is the reason I encourage you to explore what is the reason you're struggling to make progress. What is the reason for your procrastination? What is holding you back? Number 2, you should do deep work. Deep work is a term and concept that was created by a professor, Dr. Cal Newport. He even wrote a best-selling book about deep work. Deep work is defined as professional activities performed in a state of distraction-free concentration that pushes your cognitive abilities to their limit. Deep work means no multitasking and just focusing on one thing at a time. Deep work means reducing and eliminating all distractions. This may mean that you have to put your phone on Do Not Disturb. This may mean that you have to use noise-canceling headphones if you work in a busy, noisy, crowded area. This may mean you have to take breaks from social media when you're working. So no TikTok, no Instagram, no Facebook, no social media when you're working. I know this may sound excessive and ridiculous, but it's so important that you do this because there's this thing called attentional residue. Attentional residue is when your mind and brain is so distracted because it had to switch its focus from one thing to another thing. So your brain and mind is still stuck on the last thing you were doing and focusing on. And attentional residue is something that can come up when you're scrolling on social media and then you try to get back to work. But then you find yourself distracted, you want to check DMs, you want to go shopping because you saw an outfit on social media. So this is the reason why deep work is so important, because you don't want to go through the attentional residue and distractions. You can implement deep work into your life in 4 different ways. And Cal Newport called these 4 philosophies of deep work. Number 1, you can have a monastic approach to deep work. This is when you isolate yourself and you focus on your deep work alone with no distractions and nothing else. The second way is called the bimodal approach. This approach divides your time into 2 different modes, deep work and everything else. With this approach, you may spend long periods of time doing deep work. It can be hours, it can be weeks, it can be months. And then eventually you're going to switch out of the deep work mode and focus on everything else. The third way is called the rhythmic approach. With this approach, you focus on daily cycles of deep work. You focus on how many hours in a day that you can do deep work. This may look like doing deep work for 1 to 4 hours a day. And the fourth way is called the journalistic approach. This is when you try to force yourself to do deep work whenever you get a chance. And this approach can be really difficult. But the reason why you may have to do this is if you have a really busy schedule and you can't control your schedule. Another thing you can do to be more productive is to create productivity boundaries. These are boundaries that are going to help you focus on your work. This may look like setting boundaries where you don't respond to emails and phone calls right away, and instead you set up an automatic email response, or you set up an automatic voicemail system. This may look like you refusing to take on more responsibilities and obligations because you have to focus on reaching your goal first. And if you're anything like me, you're gonna struggle with setting boundaries. You may feel like it's mean, you may feel like it's selfish, you may feel like it's rude. But I promise you, it's not rude, it's not mean, and it's not selfish. There is nothing wrong with setting boundaries. In fact, you need to set boundaries to protect yourself, your peace, and your productivity. And if you are still struggling to set boundaries, let me tell you this. There's a thing called opportunity cost, which means every time you are doing one thing, you are missing out on an opportunity to do something else. With everything you do, you are sacrificing something else. This means when you take on responsibilities and obligations for other people, you are sacrificing doing things to build up yourself. Every time you say yes because you're stuck in a mode of people pleasing, you say no to yourself and your dreams and your aspirations. So when you fail to set boundaries out of a place of people pleasing, you really do sabotage yourself, your dreams, and your aspirations. And please hear me out. I am not saying that you shouldn't help your family members and friends for the sake of your productivity, because you should totally help your friends and family. I am not saying you should refuse going to important and special events like birthdays, holidays, and graduations, because these are important moments that need to be cherished and celebrated. But I am saying you should not let people dump meaningless to-do lists and chores on you. You should not let people exploit you, your energy, and your labor efforts. And you should set strong boundaries. Another thing you can do to become even more productive and successful is to create a system of healthy habits. The best-selling author, James Clear, said, "We do not rise to the level of our goals. We do not even rise to the level of our potential. Instead, we fail to the level of our systems." So basically, your systems are going to determine whether you succeed or you fail. Your systems are going to make you or break you. So this is the reason you need a system so that you can succeed. And if you don't believe me, let me tell you a story about how a bicycling team became successful. They became gold medalists in the Olympics, all because they changed their systems and habits. Basically, the bicycling team and coach focused on changing little small habits. They changed the type of equipment that they had. They changed the type of gear and clothes they would wear when they were cycling. They even changed their muscle recovery process by using different massage gels. They even changed their sleep habits and systems by investing in better pillows and mattresses. You see, after creating a system, they were able to become more successful. So whatever you want to do, you need to create a system so that you can be successful. So if you want to be a successful artist, you may have to create a system of making and selling art. And if you want to be a successful business owner and entrepreneur, you may have to create a system of customer service and marketing. And if you want to be a successful content creator, you may have to create a system of videography, filming, scripting, and editing videos and content. So whatever you want to do, whatever you want to be successful at, you will have to create a system. Another thing you need to do to be more successful is to create a schedule. This is so important so you can manage your time and all the things you have to do in the day. And when you think about it, we have schedules for everything. When you go to school, there's a schedule. When you go to work, there's a schedule. But oftentimes we forget to make a schedule for ourselves and our own productivity. So I wanted to talk about some ways you can create a schedule that'll help you be more productive. But first, I want to say there's so many different types of schedules. From time-based schedules to task-based schedules, and there's so many different approaches to time management. There's the Pomodoro technique. There's the Eisenhower matrix. There's the time blocking method and so much more. But for the sake of this video, I'm not going to go into every type of schedule and time management technique that there is. I'm willing to talk about that in another video if you would like, but for the sake of this video, I was going to talk about the main things you should focus on when creating a schedule and time managing. And I want to talk about 3 important things when you are making a schedule. The first thing you should keep in mind is time blocking. Time blocking is when you plan and map out what you want and need to do each hour in the day. You also plan out how long you think that task is going to take. So if you plan to work on a project and you think it will take an hour, you will put that on your calendar. And overall, this method of time blocking is so helpful so you can manage your time, pace your time, and be productive. The second thing is you need to create a morning ritual or routine. This is so important to set the tone for your day and mood. Your morning ritual and routine should prepare you to focus and concentrate on your day. Your morning ritual can be making a tea or a coffee before you go to work. Your morning ritual can be listening to a certain playlist before you get to work. Your morning ritual can be prayer and meditation. But whatever your morning ritual is, make sure it gives you a boost of energy so you can focus and be productive. Also, you need to create an evening or nighttime ritual. The professor and best-selling author of the book Deep Work, Dr. Cal Newport, talked about the importance of having a shut-down evening ritual. He explained that this helps your brain to know and recognize that the workday is over. This is so important to prevent burnout and overworking. Your evening shutdown ritual can look like checking emails one last time before you clock off from work. It can look like double checking the to-do list. It can look like double checking the calendar. It can look like spraying lavender in the office so that you can calm down. It can look like saying a mantra or a sentence like, "My work is done. My work is complete." You need to create some type of shutdown ritual. You need to create some type of closing ritual. Another thing that will help you become more productive and successful is the right environment. So you need to create an environment that would help you to thrive. So if you need to study, you need to create an environment where you can focus on studying. Then if you don't have the power to create an environment, you should go to the right environment that will help you thrive. So for example, if you need to study, but you have no control over your household because you live with your parents or because you live with roommates, that may mean that you have to go to a library. You may need to go to an environment where you can focus and concentrate. And another thing that will help you be more productive is self-care. When you take care of your mind, body, and soul, you're going to be able to perform better. You're going to be able to do better. The best-selling author, Dr. Stephen Covey, wrote about this in his best-selling book, 7 Habits of Effective People. He explained that if you want to be successful, you need to focus on renewing yourself. You need to focus on self-care. You need to focus on nourishing yourself physically, socially, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. And I hope this video helps you to become more productive.